Let's do this. It's the Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful, for the faithful. I'm Kurt Leavins from the Cult of Hockey. David Staples of the Edmonton Journal is off tonight, so it's just you and me. Post-game from the Edmonton Oilers and the Philadelphia Flyers. The Oilers dropped an afternoon tilt today against Philadelphia. The home team actually got off to a spirited start, but poor puck management mid-frame in the first period resulted in a 3-1 deficit after one period. The Oilers did make a game of it, and they narrowed it to 3-2 after two periods, but frankly, it was Connor McDavid and Calvin Pickard that deserved most of the credit for that. Pickard held his club in it and really did give them a chance in this one. But then the offense just went dry, and I mean dust dry. The first Oilers shot of the third period didn't occur until McDavid got a semi-dangerous shot on net at 6:22 remaining in the third period. Like that's just not going to get it done. At one point, the Oilers went almost a full period without a shot on net. It was kind of staggering, especially considering the amount of offense this team can summon up on a night-to-night basis. So it was 3-2. The Oilers just couldn't find the equalizer. Then the Flyers got an insurance marker, and they eventually got one in the empty net as well. So make the final 5-2 Philadelphia. Here's where we'll kick in with the good thing, bad thing number podcast here at the Cult of Hockey. The good thing tonight, I kind of struggled back and forth. There were only a handful of players that graded above a 5 in our Cult of Hockey player grades, which is up on our various social media feeds right now. I hope you can find it and have a look and let us know whether you agree or disagree with our assessment of those players on the night. I will go with the good thing, though, is Calvin Pickard. And you might go, man, a 5-2 win? Leavins is picking Calvin Pickard is the good thing. Well, really, if it wasn't for Calvin Pickard, this game would have gotten away from them. There were 3 first period goals, but the 1-0 was a deflection in front and off the rush. Like that's not a puck you're expecting your goaltender to stop. The 2-0 was a screen on a third attempt after Pickard had made excellent saves on 2 previous shots on the same shift. So they finally kind of put one over his shoulder and in. And the 3-0 went off a Flyer skate in front. So you wouldn't really consider any one of those 3 on Pickard. Would have you liked for your goaltender to have stopped one of them? Okay, I think that's fair. But none of them were what you would class as bad goals. And from there, it was Pickard and pretty much Pickard alone that kept it a close game. The Oilers got the 3-1 on a breakaway from Connor McDavid, and then the 3-2 on a power play goal from Evan Bouchard and a really good shot from the point. But from that, it was all Calvin Pickard. The 4-2 goal, which eventually put this game out of reach, was a deflection through a double screen. So there again, the 4th goal is really not on Cal as well. And of course, the 5th into an empty net. Pickard stopped 24 of the 28 he faced. As I say, he gave his team a puncher's chance to win in a game that, frankly, they did not deserve better. So Calvin Pickard, my good thing on the night. My bad thing? Well, going into this game, there was a lot of ballyhoo about the kid line being put together. Certainly, there was a lot of excitement in oil country over the thoughts of Matt Savoy, Ike Howard, and Quinn Hudson. Howard and Hudson just being called up from Bakersfield, where they have just been lighting it up in the AHL. Like, there's no arguing that these 2 players absolutely deserved their second shot at the NHL this season. They put Matt Savoy at center, despite, a relatively inexperienced center. He's played some center at the NHL level, a little bit at the AHL level, but really not a bunch. He's primarily been a winger. For the most part, Matt Savoy acquitted himself well at center and played a pretty responsible 2-way game. He did lose the face-off on the 4-2 goal in his own end, but in terms of defensive mistakes, in quotes, there weren't really any, and he was frequently back supporting his 2 defensemen. No problem with him playing a solid 2-way game down the middle. But the 3 of them really didn't get anything done. Ike Howard, a noticeable back shift in the first period, but no shots. Quinn Hudson, no shots and a giveaway. Savoy was good on the PK. He did have 2 block shots. I mentioned the face-off loss. But considering he went into this one hoping that these 3 young guns would really, give the Oilers a bit of a kick in the butt and give them a spark on that third line and create some offense, they didn't. And when you look at the 5-on-5 numbers, they weren't that much better for those three. And to make matters worse, the fourth line, which I thought before the game, well, these guys will insulate that third line. So Chris Knoblauch, with home ice advantage for the most part, he controls the matchups and the changes. He wouldn't have to face that kid line against terribly difficult competition in tough circumstances. The problem was the fourth line, which I had said, even if they don't score, they're pretty responsible guys. They got nothing done. And I mean, in terms of 5-on-5 CF, Adam Henrique was at 20%. Where is the other two guys? Trent Frederick, 25%, and Matthias Janmark, 22%. I mean, Frederick did nothing. I'd say that Adam Henrique was solid on the PK, but 5-on-5, he just got crushed. And an uncharacteristically poor night in the faceoffs where he was below 40%. And in terms of Matthias Janmark, he did draw the one Oilers power play, but that's about the only time you really noticed him all night. Again, okay on the PK. But the third and fourth lines, even with that infusion of youth and young blood into the lineup, didn't piss the drop. So that was the bad thing. My number tonight, 18. 18. No, that's not the number of Zach Hyman. And we'll talk about Hyman in a minute. 18 was the number of consecutive saves Calvin Pickard had to make in this game in between Oilers shots on net. You heard that right. Between one Oilers shot on net, there were 18 Calvin Pickard saves before there was another Oilers shot on net. It was inexplicable how the offense dried up. And after consecutive starts where this club had been outshot like 7-0, 7-1, they jumped out to a shot lead in this one and thought, okay, they're off to a good start. And then it just fell apart. Digging a little bit deeper into the game, so what fell apart? Well, I'd say puck management for the most part. The first goal was a neutral zone a giveaway. Evan Bouchard was a neutral zone turnover, led to the 3-0 goal. Darnell Nurse on the 1-0. It was a 2-on-2. Philadelphia coming down on Edmonton. It was a 2-on-2. But then Nurse, I thought, was overly aggressive in the neutral zone, and that suddenly turned the play into the odd man rush and the 1-0. That's the goal that I said came off the rush on the deflection in front. And then the second goal was also involving Darnell Nurse. Now, I watched this replay a couple of times, and I'd be interested in your thoughts as well. I kind of picked on three guys on this play, but particularly Nurse, who had the puck under control deep in his own zone, fumbled it, and then threw what I saw as kind of a grenade up the wall, like really not a good pass. So I thought he was partly at fault, but Vasily Podkolzin has to do something more with that puck on the wall than he did. And I said off the top of Vasily Podkolzin's grade, he'd been under the weather. In fact, it was a game time decision whether or not he would play tonight. As I understand it, he's had the flu or something like it. He didn't look like himself tonight. And like Podkolzin, you normally get the same effort game in and game out. But it's very uncharacteristic for him to make a mistake along the wall with a puck like he did on that one. And it just popped loose and bing, bang, boom. It was in. So, it's Alec Regula on the 1-0. He failed to intercept the pass into the middle on the 1-0. So it was just poor puck management at a bad time. Just when you think this team starts to play better defensively, as they had been, we thought, before Christmas, since Christmas, they haven't played well. And even though, they won the Winnipeg game, let's be honest, that was Calvin Pickard who stole that game. So who was good in this game if so many players were average to bad? Well, the top grade I gave out tonight was Matthias Ekholm. Good block shot in the first. He intercepted a Flyers pass and laid a perfect area pass up to Connor McDavid for the breakaway goal, which broke the goose egg and made it 3-1 Philadelphia. Another key block for Ekholm in the second period. Whistled for a penalty in the third period, but his mates killed it off. He had 3 shots, 2 blocks, 5-on-5. He was good, 68%. CF 5-on-5. You're not going to complain about that. Easily the best Oilers defenseman on the day. I thought the best Oilers player on the day. I graded him a 7. 2 players graded 6s. One was Connor McDavid. Started off with a good feed to a hard-charging Hyman for a first-period chance. A hard hit on Konechny on the wall. He and Konechny kind of battled all night long. That was a fun matchup to watch. The 2 guys that are going to be on Team Canada together. Just exploded up the middle after he swallowed that Ekholm pass and wristed it blocker side for the 3-1. Then shortly after that, he set up Bouchard and Ekholm for back-to-back chances near the end of the first. Second period power play just blew past York on a nice exchange with Leon Draisaitl, then drew the primary assist on the 3-2. He was one of the few Oilers with offensive mojo. He had 6 shots on net. Rough night on the face-off circle for him, as it was for many Oilers. Connor was just 28% on draws. I graded McDavid a 6. I went back and forth with Calvin Pickard on his grade. I started him off a 5. I went back and I changed it to the 6 because I just thought without him, this is a different game. And yeah, he gave up 4 5-on-5 goals, but at the end of the day, as I say, I just think it's a different game without him. I passed Zach Hyman and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. That line was really the only decent line the Oilers had. I failed everybody on the Draisaitl line, and I can't remember a time when I did that last. Leon Draisaitl, although he was decent on faceoffs, just really wasn't himself tonight. I mentioned Podkolzin already, and Roslovic was one of the guys who was at fault on the 1-0, too late on the back check. No shots of his own and 2 giveaways, so an uncharacteristic night for Roslovic as well. Did anybody else get a passing grade? Yeah, I gave Evan Bouchard a passing grade because he was good with the puck and scored the power play goal, but there were certainly some adventures without the puck as well. Everybody else, Nurse a 3, Regula a 4, Savoy, Howard, and Hudson 4s. Stastny was -3 in the night on the back end. I gave him a 3. Emberson a 4. And the third line, Henrik and Janmark 4s, and Frederick, who was just invisible, a 3. So after that game, again, a 5-2 home loss to Philadelphia. The Oilers are now 20, 16, and 6, 46 points. For the time being, they're still number 1 in the Pacific Division, but of course it's relatively early when we're recording this on a Saturday, and depending on the results that come later on tonight, the Oilers could end up not at first place quite easily by the end of the night. Up next is Nashville, and you have to hope that Chris Knobloch and crew can sort things out between now and then. You could argue the Boston game was really a difference between goaltenders, where Jeremy Swayman was really good and Connor Ingram wasn't. But I think it's easy to say that, while McDavid and Draisaitl had lots of looks, the Oilers' offense still wasn't where it needed to be and wasn't even close tonight. And the defensive crack started to show again. So what needs to change between now and then to give them a better shot against Nashville, which is a competitive but not a great team? It's a team that the Oilers need to and should beat. Well, frankly, a lot needs to change compared to that afternoon showing at Rogers Place. So once again, that's it for the Cult of Hockey podcast. We've gone over the game grades. All of those are now up on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and other social media spots if you follow us there, or of course, just Google us at the Cult of Hockey, and you can always find the game grades for either David or I here as well. And I will be back in the morning with my regular Sunday 9 Things column, and I always appreciate your time spent grabbing a coffee on Sunday morning and reading along with me. So that's a bow on it. The good thing, the yeoman's work by Calvin Pickard, which made this game closer than it would appear. The bad thing was the total lack of offense, really from lines 2 through 4. And again, that number is that long drought in between shots when the Oilers need to create some offense. Philadelphia is a good defensive team. They're on the rugged side, but I mean, I'm sorry, they're you know they shouldn't be capable of shutting down the Edmonton Oilers completely, and that's what they did. They suffocated them tonight. So let's leave it at that. We could talk about more, but not much of it's good, frankly. So it's just was one of those nights. So I appreciate you joining us. For our co-host and Edmonton Journal compatriot David Staples here at the Cult of Hockey, I am Kurt Leavins. In the meantime and in between times, thanks for listening to another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.